Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Early in Cyber. We have a great show lined up today with a very special guest. And before we dive in, given that this is the very first show, I thought I would share with you what the show is about and how the episodes will be run. The main purpose of the show is to inspire the next generation of cybersecurity leaders and experts, and to provide the listeners, that's you guys, with a platform where you have the opportunity to get the answers you need. I've been lucky enough to do an apprenticeship where I've had the opportunity to meet leaders from across the board to develop and create my security pathway, and this is my way of helping others to do the same. Lastly, before we dive in, I just wanted to let you all know that to celebrate our first episode, we will be doing a very interesting giveaway, so please stay tuned for more information later in the show. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Martin Lee.
Well, thanks, Shams. It's a great honour to be here and an extra special honour to be your first ever guest.
No, Martin, the honour's all ours. Thank you for being here. Now, I know you pretty well, but for those who don't, could you please give us a background as to who you are and what you do?
Certainly. Well, my name's Martin Lee. I work within Talos, which is Cisco's threat intelligence and security research organization, where I lead and represent Talos across EMEA, working within the strategic planning and communications team. I've spent just over 20 years working in cybersecurity now, one way or another, following what the bad guys have been up to and how their techniques have changed or are changing. And increasingly, as my career has developed, with a focus on explaining to others, notably senior managers in the private and public sector, just what these changes in the threat landscape are, what it means for them, and what we can expect from the bad guys in the near future.
Wow, sounds like a very hands-on and very busy job role.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of fun. You never know quite what's going to happen. A lot of what we do is actually dictated by the bad guys, how they're changing their techniques. I do like sometimes to contrast this branch of engineering with something like structural engineering. If you're building a bridge, you know what forces you're faced with. Gravity always points in the same direction. You're going to have traffic, you're going to have wind, and this is what you need to take into consideration when you're designing your bridge. In the world of IT, it's as if we're designing systems for worlds where gravity can just reverse itself randomly. No matter what protections you might put in your IT system, sooner or later the bad guys will be looking for ways of subverting it or getting around your protections. And as soon as they finish, or as soon as they find a way of doing that, you need to react pretty quickly.
I think that's the great thing about security. You know, it's every day the landscape's always changing, and I think no 2 days are ever the same, are they?
Absolutely, and that's what keeps it so interesting. It's certainly what's kept my attention over the years. It's still a developing environment, full of changes, full of interesting things, and I think those key inventions that are going to resolve the problem have yet to be discovered. So there's lots of scope for people to come into the area and really make their mark.
For sure. And speaking of entering the industry, do you mind sharing with us how you've ended up working at Talos? I've heard this story many times, and it's quite interesting.
Well, basically, it's completely by accident. I can't really claim to have set out to do this at the start of my career. It's a series of fortunate accidents and taking advantage of what looks like interesting possibilities that's led me here. So I started out with the idea, I was a human viral geneticist. I was researching the genetics of human viruses and their interaction with the immune system. And I came to Oxford in early '96 as a young researcher, and then promptly discovered the internet. and thought this is going to be the biggest invention of my life. I was aware it was right at the beginning of the internet revolution, and I was aware that if I didn't switch careers there and then, I would spend the rest of my life regretting it. So much to my mother's disgust, instead of writing up my doctorate, I taught myself programming, jumped ship into originally electronic publishing and then developing websites. As with everyone else at the time, rode with the dot-com boom, crashed with the dot-com crash, and then late in, would it have been 2002? Yeah, a job came up writing spam filters. And this was even before spam was a problem, really. And it struck me as something that was actually quite similar to the work that I've been doing in analyzing virus genomes. I knew how to identify patterns. I knew how to measure homology. And so I got involved in writing spam detection. And really have never looked back. Sort of along the way, a few key things. Started getting viruses into my spam honeypots, which led me to look at more detail in malware. I was also slowly became aware that part of the problems that we were facing wasn't so much that our detection was lacking. It was actually that the sales and marketing teams had no idea what we were doing in the malware research room and why it was so interesting and so different. So then started getting involved in explaining to the sales teams what it was that we were doing, which led me to getting invited to give presentations to customers and sort of earned a reputation of a techie who talks. Which is kind of where I am now. And then about 9 years or so ago, I joined Cisco. And, here I still am.
Wow. I never get bored listening to this story. And I think the switch between, studying viruses that were genetic and biological to computer viruses, I would never have thought of the similarities, but when you think about it, it does make sense.
Do you know what? It doesn't make sense. It really is an accident. There was no purpose behind it. I think the bit that does make sense, and one of the things I wanted to recommend to people, is it's been an issue of looking at things that seem interesting and then deciding to go and do that. I think that's really the success that I've had. It's sort of bumbling through life, thinking, "Oh, that looks interesting. Let's go and find out about this," and doing that. And little by little, that's what I've done, which has led to where I am now. So I thoroughly recommend people having an open mind, experimenting with things, keeping open eyes, looking at what's interesting or takes their interest at that particular time, and then just going out and doing it, and then see what happens.
No, for sure. That is some really good advice. So thank you for that.
Oh, and also another key thing is don't be afraid of getting it wrong. That's a very potted biography that I've given you. There's been a lot of missteps along the ways. So yeah, don't be too afraid of getting things wrong and finding yourself in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. If you keep on your toes and recognize when you've made a misstep, it's very, very easy to change direction and go back and find out something which you really enjoy.
I think that's a key piece of advice right there. Personally, for me, being early in career, you always want to sort of have a concrete plan. But as you've clearly shown that, plans never work out. You'll always end up where you're meant to be somehow.
I envy people that have plans. I really, really envy people who set out in life to be a solicitor or a doctor, and they've got everything set out and they know exactly what they want to be and exactly how to get there. I'd love to be like that, but I'm not. It's just a matter of sort of thinking, oh yeah, I'll do that for a bit. Oh, do you know what? I am going to do this. And yeah, if you're anything like that, go for it.
Definitely. I mean, But I guess you'll never get bored. That's one advantage of coming into security.
Yeah, no, this is true. I think one of the key things for security for me is that continuous change. Everything is changing all of the time. It's still very much an emerging discipline. It's a very new discipline. We forget just how new this is. When I was in school, career advisor couldn't tell me to go working in cybersecurity because it simply didn't exist. It's a really, really new discipline. It's continuously changing. I think there's those key inventions that are actually going to resolve the problem. I do think this is something that we will resolve eventually. Have yet to be invented. So there's a lot of scope for people to get involved, bring their ingenuity, bring their new ideas and a fresh pair of eyes and a fresh outlook to the domain, and go and make their mark.
Definitely, for sure. I think you listeners that are tuning in, listen to Martin's words, and who knows, in 10 years' time, you could be sat here telling us your story.
Absolutely. And also saying how wrong Martin Lee was and how they're grateful at finding their own path. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, someone come in and say, nah, it's really easy getting into security. You just do this. I don't know what Martin was talking about.
Absolutely. Don't listen to me. The number of things I got wrong is quite amazing.
Well, thank you for that, Martin, telling us how you got into security. Now, we've had some listeners send in some questions, so I'm going to pose them to you, and hopefully it'll come in useful for all the listeners. So in no particular order, what's the greatest obstacle you faced in your career early on?
So I think, so I didn't study computer science or computers in any way. So I didn't have a relevant degree early on, which I think probably held me back mentally and with confidence more than anything. I did then go back and study part-time for a master's degree in software engineering. But yeah, I think that the greatest obstacle was the fact that I hadn't received a formal training in anything to do with computers. In the end, I've taught myself through playing around and tinkering and reading and learning from others and asking lots of questions and getting people to tutor me in what I do. Maybe the single greatest obstacle early on was a lack of confidence. If I had more confidence and more awareness that actually a lot that was holding me back was just in my own head, and that if I'd just gone for it, I would have done a lot better. So yeah, I think that key single bit is don't hold yourself back. Don't let a lack of confidence hold you back. Have some confidence in your own abilities, to learn, and go out and tinker and play with things and see what happens.
That is some really good advice, which I think personally I'm going to take on board. Being in a team of very experienced individuals, you sometimes lack that confidence to speak up. So yeah, definitely.
Or just ask for help. Ask people, hey, look, how would you go about this? Or I'm finding this a bit difficult. What do you think I should do? And learn from others. Typically, people are very happy to help other people, and of course, everyone likes to show off a bit and demonstrate their own awareness. So don't be afraid to ask people for help.
Thank you. So moving on to the second question, in terms of upskilling, what's one thing you wish you did more of when you were younger?
I think, again, that comes back to the tinkering bit. I think that I probably should have got involved in more open source projects when I was younger, or released more of my own software, open source. So yeah, being involved more in the wider community and open source software, I think would have really, really have helped me more. instead, I think by nature I'm sort of more of a bedroom tinkerer. I like playing with things, in a darkened room, rather than getting out there and working together with a wider team or releasing software for other people's benefits. So yes, upskilling through open source projects, working with others, volunteering. I think I should have done more of that.
Well, I think the listeners will definitely take that advice on board. So, go out there and see what you can do to benefit others. Now, moving on to the third question. What's some advice you would give to somebody who's early in career who wants to get into security research and threat intelligence?
I think that you end up getting a career or a job through looking like somebody who does that job, if you know what I mean. So for example, if you want to get involved in pen testing, I'd say the first steps would be get involved with the pen testing community. Physically meet up with these people, listen to what it is that they say, how they say it, look at the types of certifications that they have, the knowledge and skills that they have, the tools that they use, and then go out and try and learn a bit about that and become minimally fluent with the tools. Then you can kind of blag your way of getting that first job. The first job is always difficult, but if you look a bit like the type of person that does that role and you kind of speak the right language, and at least you know your way roughly around the kind of tools that you would use in such a job, you'd be at a very, very good place to start. And I think really that goes for anything involved in IT. If you want to do threat intelligence, look like the kind of person that does threat intelligence, write blogs about malware analysis, or any kind of threat analysis. Use the types of tools that you see professionals in the domain using. Write about it, share your experiences, and build up a portfolio of stuff for your CV so that you can talk about it meaningfully with a hiring manager, and just show that although you might not be an expert in the domain, you're already on the way and you've already mastered at least some of the knowledge. And I think that's really what a hiring manager is looking for in someone early in career. It's someone who's got promise, someone who's on their way to being a fully fledged professional, talks the talk, walks the walk, and recognizes what's needed to succeed in the role.
And just to follow up on that question, you mentioned, joining the communities of the areas that you're interested in. Where would I look to join these communities? What sort of places would you recommend, researching, etc.?
So meetup.com is a very, very good place to start. There's all sorts of meeting groups, certainly, all sorts of interests. Certainly within IT, you'll find meeting groups there. Otherwise, professional associations, even whatever you can find, certainly something in information security. There are a number of professional groups that are out there who welcome new members. Everyone within cybersecurity, we recognise that we need new blood within the career. We need people to come and join the profession. And I think if you go along to those kind of meetings, email them first. Is it okay if I come? I'm sure they would be delighted. Join as a student member or something, or as a junior or associate member, and just get involved, hang out, listen to what people are saying, and network. And it's a very, very good way of finding those first few jobs, which will set you out onto a long career.
That is some great advice. I think after this meeting, this call, I'm going to head off and start searching some platforms that I can join.
Absolutely, yeah. Look for the professional associations are a very, very good place to start. They welcome new members. See what they've got to offer you, or see where your interests best fit, and then yeah, go get involved. Turn up, show up.
Lovely. So that is something to add to the to-do list. Now, moving on to the next question. Do you recommend any particular certifications for early in career to take to help accelerate their careers?
So I think any hiring manager is looking for a mix of two things from someone early in their career. It's stuff that they know and stuff that they can do. So certifications are very, very good for showing stuff that you know. I think stuff that you can do. I mean, some security certifications certainly have part of stuff that you can do, but open source projects, having your own GitHub page, writing software, writing articles, all help to show what it is that you can do. I think one way that you can go wrong is focusing too much on certifications and thinking, I need another certification, I need another certification, without remembering that's just part of the mix. The other part is what can you do, and having projects that you've worked on either on your own or with other people that you can present, that you can talk about, and that you can use to show your own prowess. Also, certifications depend on where you are in your career. There are entry level certifications that are absolutely brilliant. If you're looking for entry level jobs, you might want to aim a little bit higher. And go for sort of more mid-level certifications. It all depends on where you are, where you want to go, and what do you think will help you get there. But don't neglect stuff that you can do as well as stuff that you know, and also don't neglect your own personal network and the people that you know who can help guide you.
Wow. Okay. I think as an early in career individual, you always want to chase those certs, or that's what's sort of pushed down. And I
Yes.
think you've given some really solid advice.
They help, certifications help, but they're just part of the mix. I mean, being Cisco employees, we must say, Cisco certifications are pretty good. If you want to get involved in networks in any shape or form, having your CCNA is a pretty good place to be. But not everyone wants to be hands-on on networks. There are other areas of IT and certainly cybersecurity. There is a whole range of certificates out there, but don't make your career just chasing certificates.
For sure. I think it's all about that balance at the end of the day.
Yes, yes.
Now, moving on to what I think is a really great question. What are your three biggest learnings from your career?
Gosh, I think possibly the biggest one is don't be afraid of jumping. I can see a couple of opportunities that I should have jumped at early in my career that I didn't, because I was a bit reticent and I was a bit afraid, and didn't want the change. So the first one was don't be afraid of change. Certainly early in your career, go change. Go change jobs every 18 months or so, and get lots and lots of different experience. Secondly, look to see where you fit best. Everyone's an individual, everyone's different, everyone has their own preferences and their own particular skill profile. So hunt out where that might fit best with a role or with an employer, and don't be afraid to go and do that and go and hunt for it. Similarly, I think if you can, you are probably best off at least having some kind of career map and career journey, at least in your head. If you've got a map and an idea of where you'll go, where you're going, you'll get somewhere. If you don't, you'll probably just wander around in circles. So having some kind of idea of what it is that you need to get to the next step in your career. Well, firstly, you need to know what is the next step in your career that you actually want. Then you need to know, well, what is it that I'm going to need to get there? And then just going out and doing it. Go take that certification, take that exam, go do a degree part-time, write a book, work on an external project, but have an idea of what it is that you need to do to get to the next step of your career, and then again, just go for it.
I think that's what it's all about, just going for it, taking the plunge and just seeing how it works out.
It's very easy to stay where you are. It's very easy and it's very safe. But the one thing's for certain, if you play it safe, if you stay where you are, you're not going somewhere. Which is fine if you're perfectly happy where you are. Not everyone needs to progress in their careers. Many people are just happy with what it is that they're doing. But I think for most people, have an idea of where you want to get to, and then go out and chase your dreams, go and follow what looks interesting, and just do it.
Definitely. Now, moving on to our last question. This was clearly sent in by a Martin Lee fan. Considering
that's probably my mum.
For those who don't know, Martin released a book, and the question is regarding the book. So, what prompted you to write the book, and can we expect any more publications?
So, when I started out 20 years ago in threat intelligence, it was very, very early in the development of the profession. There was no textbook. In fact, it took me a few years to discover that what it was that I was doing was called threat intelligence. And I set out looking for a textbook that I could learn from to learn the domain, and I couldn't find one. At the time, that book didn't exist, and I tried for a long time looking for it. There are now a handful of textbooks about cyber threat intelligence, but none of them were really that book that I wanted to find sort of 18, 19 years or so ago. So I thought, well, I'm at the point now in my career where I think it makes sense for me to sit down and write that textbook that I wanted to find on cyber threat intelligence, and write it to help the next generation. Out there are people who, like I was, 20 or 30 years ago now, who are interested in threat intelligence, who want to get involved, who want to learn more, but can't quite find the right resource or the right textbook or the right information. And it's for those people that I wrote the book. So if you are early in your career and you wanted to start a career in cyber threat intelligence, you're the person that I wrote the book for. Also, if you're already working in cyber threat intelligence and you're doing pretty well, it's also there as a reference for people working in the domain. But I kind of feel a responsibility to pass on that knowledge that I've gained and use it to help other people get started in their careers. We need more people with threat intelligence skills. We need more people working in cyber security. It's very easy to sort of whinge and complain and say, yeah, we need more people, but we can't find them, we can't hire them. Far more better just to get on with it, write the book, write the material, get it out there, and try and encourage people into the domain. So the second part of that question, can we expect any more publications? I had no idea how difficult it was to write a book. I really, really didn't know. It's been incredibly, incredibly painful, an incredibly long process. It's taken 2 years of my life, basically. Very, very rewarding, but also very, very tiring, and a lot of effort. Immediately after publication a few months ago, I said, never, ever, ever again. I've now mellowed slightly, and I can say, yeah, I have no plans for another one in the near future. But I won't say never. A lot of what I do is writing. I write a lot on the Cisco Talos blog and also on the Cisco blogs. I write for publications. So writing is something that I enjoy. However, no plans to write a book again in the near future. It was a lot of work.
I guess whoever sent in that question might be slightly disappointed with the answer there.
Hey, if they want to pay me lots of money to write a blockbuster, yeah, absolutely no problem. But if somebody wants me to write it part time on the weekends and evenings again, and actually I'm being a guaranteed financial loser out of it, it's like, yeah, do you know what? No, not anytime soon.
Not to worry. Right, I think that's all the questions done. So thank you to our listeners for sending them in, and thank you, Martin, for your time today.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure, and always happy to help out.
Thank you. Now, before we move on to the giveaway, I wanted to ask you, Martin, do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners?
I think all I would say is just go for it. Seriously, don't overthink things. Don't hesitate. Have a bit of confidence in your own abilities. Have confidence that it'll probably turn out all right, more or less, in the end. If something looks interesting, go for it. I think a lot of success comes down to luck. At the same time, to some degree, you also go and make your own luck. So don't hesitate. Don't overthink things. Go and do something interesting.
Thank you. Now, before we wrap up today's show, as mentioned earlier, we are doing a very special giveaway. And once again, I'll hand over to Martin to share some more details.
So, Shams, I believe you're giving away a signed copy of my book, of my textbook on cyber threat intelligence, which is absolutely awesome. And even if you can't win it, there's only going to be one winner. You can buy it on or any online bookseller, shall we say, or indeed any bookshop, anywhere you can buy books, whether that's online or in person. If you search for Cyber Threat Intelligence by Martin Lee, you will find it.
Perfect. So one lucky winner will win Martin's new book. And I mean, it's a signed copy, so you won't be able to purchase this anywhere else. So I would say, it's worth the shot. And all you have to do to be entered into our competition is two things. Firstly, be sure to follow either our Twitter page or LinkedIn page. All links will be posted in the description of the episode, as well as further terms and conditions. And secondly, look out for our competition post, again, either on Twitter or LinkedIn. And all you have to do is interact with the post, whether that's reposting, commenting, liking, retweeting, etc. The giveaway winner will be announced in our next episode, where we will be having the amazing Jane Franklin. So be sure to stay tuned. And thank you once again to Martin for joining us on our first episode.
Thanks, Shams.
Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Early in cyber, where knowledge meets inspiration.